Hello, everyone. It's Michael Jaco with Unleashing Intuition Secrets, joined today by Jason Cisneros, business architect, keynote speaker, business owner, philanthropist, podcast host, best-selling author. And then we also have the monumentally successful David Schmidt. David Schmidt is the founder and CEO of LifeWave, a leading health and wellness company. Started the company in 2004, and so 20 years, with the stated goal of helping people feel better, look younger, and lead more joyful lives through health and wellness products that tap into the body's natural energy and resiliency. The company also works to create business opportunities that can help find professional fulfillment through company partnerships. So, gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me today.
Absolutely. My
Honored
pleasure.
to be here. Honored to be here.
Excellent, excellent. So, as we move forward, we're going to see a lot of systems collapse. We're seeing this. A lot of people are getting very frustrated with, big pharma, the food industry. We know we had, the cigarette industry got, dimed out by one of its scientists. And so they just moved over into the food industry. So the food industry got all those scientists who were making things addictive and harmful for people. And then they moved into the food industry, which is now making it harmful for people to eat. The level of obesity has skyrocketed. We're also seeing a lot of these food companies are pushing money over into big pharma because they're creating, the environment that, they're going to make more money off of people getting unwell. So David, with your wellness, technology, this is cutting edge, Star Trek level, technology. Where do you see this going?
Well, it's a really interesting question, Michael. And the way I would frame this is that we have a 7 to 10 year plan to expand upon the mission that we started by empowering people to give them the best health possible. So when I started the business in 2004, it was just simply about giving people more energy, better night's sleep, and helping to relieve pain by all of this by using light. And as we progressed, we were able in our labs to develop anti-aging solutions. And now we have technologies that can help improve upon the way that people heal as well as overall wellness. So we've been able to become fastest growing company in the world in our industry for the last 4 years in a row. And this year we're going to achieve sales of over 600 million US dollars. So with that level of success, it gives us the ability to think about what do we want the next 7 to 10 years to look like. So from my perspective, it's all about empowerment so that we can address the concerns that you've brought up. So what that means in our world is that we develop technology to continue to give people options on how they might want to support their own health and well-being. So if someone decided they wanted to go a particular route and only use natural therapies, they would have many more options that exist than today. We also see a path forward for developing technology that is a green energy solution so that people can power their homes, they can power their, soon to be electric cars that we might be forced to buy, and not have to be faced with a situation that they don't have power if something should happen to the grid, such as a natural disaster or something else along those lines. I'm also looking at communications because there really is an issue today with how we communicate, and that's become jeopardized. And fortunately, we've been able to develop a new technology to give people freedom of communication. And that's something that will roll out in the coming 5 to 10 years.
Wow, and absolutely incredible. So I think it's very obvious we're going to see your company be one of the ones that go forward in the future. Jason, what are you seeing with these new technologies and the collapse of the old systems?
It's a complicated, I want to do it my best to make it simple in my answer because it's far from simple. But historically speaking, where we are is where we've always been when there's a healthy free marketplace. and the two words that go together, which is creative destruction. Okay. David is literally the example of that. And so you look back through human history, you know that owning your own business, the ability to make income away from a centralized government who wants to control you, or a bunch of elites who want to use you as slaves. The human progress has evolved mostly through small business, right? Through ethical capitalism. And F.A. Hayek was sort of the godfather of that information about how to build a free market, and went back and forth with Keynes and in his methodology. But ultimately what that means is there is going to be a collapse of large systems. Now some of these companies shouldn't even be around at this moment, but they've been artificially inflated and held up by a corrupt centralized government who is propping them up, who's allowing restrictions to hold down, innovation, right? The stuff that we have to go through with LifeWave of making sure every single word is exactly right, right? But you put up somebody like a Pfizer or somebody like that, they don't follow the same rules. So what's happening, I believe, because humanity is addicted to freedom now, at least I hope so, the creative destruction is breaking its way through those walls, because innovation, human progress, the human spirit, wanting to improve, connecting, combining, innovating for out of a spirit of love and a spirit of healing and a spirit of lifting each other up, because we know that when we lift each other up, we lift, and when we lift our other people up, we know we're lifting ourselves up. And so I think the creative destruction is an amazing place for us to be in history, because there's always great opportunities that are happening in that churning. Right. And obviously we've got some political things, but I don't think that there's a single thing that I would bet against more than human innovation and an addiction to freedom. So that's where I think we find ourselves. And I'm massively excited to be involved in it, to be associated with somebody like David, whose company literally is the example of breaking through that, into that innovative spot to heal people.
Beautiful, beautiful. And, innovation, I feel, comes from the spark of the creator. And David, I know you have spoken about this before in the past. And I think that's part of the reason why some of these corrupt economies are going to collapse, is because we're moving into light. Of course, there's light involved with your system as well. So can you tell us, this, I think, good against evil type situation we find ourselves in, where you are at as far as the connection to source and how that works into your business?
Yeah, it's very interesting. Sometimes people ask, why is there so much evil in the world? Why would God allow that? And it really goes back to the creation of humanity. We were given the ability to make choices. We were given the ability to choose one direction or another. And, over the course of centuries and millennia, there have been some people that have chosen to turn away from God, and others that have decided to turn towards God. And when we turn towards natural laws and things that we know inherently in our hearts that are good, things tend to work quite a bit better. When society has laws and there's order, there's less crime. You just go to a place like Singapore or Japan, Denmark, there's very low incidence of crime and people adhere to a system of laws. Well, it's the same thing with technology. When we abide by the laws of nature, that means we can create technology that is ultimately going to be sustainable. So how do we tap into those things? In our labs, we practice something called biomimetics, meaning we want to examine a natural living system and see if we can mimic that technology. So example that I would use, I'll use maybe one or two examples. One is on spider silk. So we have this initiative where we want to look at creating a new generation of materials that are biologically compatible with the environment, but can replace existing composite materials like carbon fiber and fiberglass. And we can do that with spider silk. And I have an innovation in that area that we're pursuing. So nature did most of the heavy lifting. And what we have to do now is figure out how can we copy that and then implement it on an industrial scale. Another example in the area of healing would be on looking at species that don't age. And there's a new technology we're going to be releasing in October where I'll go into great detail about this, but the short story is we were involved in a research project looking at lobsters. And I wanted to know on a both biophysics level as well as the biochemistry, how can we understand how lobsters defeat the aging process? Lobsters will live to about 130, 150 years old, and they never age. The only reason why they die is they're either eaten by a predator, they get sick, or they outgrow physically the size of the biological limit on their shells. But otherwise, they won't age. So in studying this, I found a biological code and that they were using, and this was all based on light. So there's a system of light communications in lobsters that allows them to defeat aging. I was doing a Bible study and I happened to find that same biological code in the story of creation in the book of Genesis. So God gives us the answers in the Bible. They're there. It's just a matter of us reading, understanding, investigating, and working in harmony with the laws of God and nature. And we can create some truly remarkable things.
Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah. And I have memories of being a Navy SEAL and hunting lobsters. I was like the lobster king hunter. Everybody depended on me to get the lobsters. They'd find one or two, and I get like bags full of them. But I remember one of them was like tremendous. I was like, oh my God, this is the king of all lobsters. I've never seen a bigger one. And I had a Hawaiian sling at the time. That's how I would, get the lobsters. I shot it. It bounced off its shell. I jacked it up as much as I could, bounced off his shell again, and it came out of its hole, and I could feel it hitting my body all the way up. I was like, that is the weirdest thing I've ever seen. I get to the surface, my wetsuit was shredded. So it has those barbs in their tail. So I got to see for real that, these lobsters are, the longer they live, the bigger they get. And I guess that one had the armor of God on that day. So
it sounds that way. There are some fish where, of course, people have been able to mimic the scales of fish for creating armor that did not exist before, that has been pretty effective. There's a species of shrimp that's been investigated because it knocks out its opponent based on a pressure wave that moves at extremely high speeds. So we can learn a lot from observing nature and then copying nature.
Yeah, God's plan, and you have been doing that unbelievably with the technology, the LifeWave technology. Now, Jason, moving in that direction, the reward that you get from coordinating and working with a company that has cutting edge and is like really taken off, like LifeWave, is one of the fastest growing companies out there right now. It's just blowing the doors off everybody. I think at some point it's going to be, nobody's going to touch it. And then David has that goal too. What do you think is going to happen going forward with LifeWave and with other companies? And how do you see that reward ratio happening? I can tell you from my own personal point of view, from working with LifeWave over the last couple of years, it's been incredibly, nothing has ever touched LifeWave as far as reward that I've gotten from helping others. So what do you see, Jason?
Well, going back to the Bible, it's the perfect business model for pretty much anything that you want to do. You read it from that perspective, it's ethical capitalism 101 all the way back in the Bible. And there's a difference when you put ethical capitalism versus unethical capitalism, right? Like an Amazon, for instance, has gone across, they've jumped the shark and they're into the unethical area. Ethical capitalism is, again, I love the idea. David looks at science. I look from a systems and a process perspective in the Bible to say, okay, how, where can we model and mimic what God and Jesus and, all of the words in the Bible to say, how do we build a solid business model for us and our family, right? And you look at the business model that David chose is one that aligns so biblically with really to feel and experience joy, you should be in service of other people, right? And he's taken this amazing business, the opportunity for people, and then said, here, I've built it. All you have to do is go forth and talk, right? Sound familiar from the Bible? all you have to do is go forth and spread the word. And there's very little to no risk at all, but they can build whatever they see for themselves. And that's where every human being gets to an end of themselves where they've bought everything that they think was a shortcut. They've invested in every piece of information that was snake oil. They've taken themselves to the end of where they are. And then that's where God shows up every single time. And when that shows up, you're looking for what are the right systems? What are the right processes? Who do I mimic as I'm looking to build freedom, right? Freedom for myself and my family. I believe that's the ultimate call for a man. I think that's an ultimate call for a family is for us to be self-sustaining with the gifts that God gave us. And there is nothing better on planet Earth than ethical capitalism, the ability to be able to own your own business, to be able to chart your own destiny according to your own weaknesses, strengths, but it's a one-on-one battle, right? It's the person in the mirror with your guidance coming from people that are further down the road and from the Bible. So I love the idea of mimicking. And if all we did was just mimic the good book in a lot of areas, this world would be much better off. But as far as the system goes to what David has created and the methodology behind it, it's show one and they go talk to other people. The biggest thing is try it for yourself. You see how it works. I'm watching all kinds of great things happen in my health and I'm already cutting edge. Like I'm already on that edge of trying everything new. All of my doctors, everybody that I know that I've helped with, in anti-aging and all that kind of stuff, I'm in their pocketbook and I said, I'm your guinea pig. I'll try anything. But to be at that place and to be blessed to be in a place of knowing that many people, and then to come into this technology that, again, the most sophisticated items on planet Earth appear simple when they are applied by a genius, right? And that's what this is. It's a patch, right? It's a patch that you put on the light, all of these things. It appears simple because of the God-given gift that David had and his willingness to serve and to turn it into an ethical capitalist environment. So it checks all the boxes for me, Michael.
Oh, that's beautiful, Jason. Very, very well put. David, so you have Tony Stark, Iron Man back there behind you. You're kind of like the inventor like him. Of course, there's been also people that have, talked about your, Tesla technology and you liked Einstein. You visited his, or not Einstein, it was
Edison.
Edison, the
Yep.
Edison laboratories as a kid. So you were very intrigued by that. And, you're living the dream. Jason, he's got the Batman. You guys are joking that I'm Wolverine. So here we have, super characters here, but it's because of LifeWave that, we're able to go into these levels of, superpowerness, if you will. So what are you seeing going forward with your technology? I know you have the new Utah headquarters that's coming in. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about that and the Star Trek theme and so forth.
Okay. Well, let's see. First, we're going to have the grand opening of our office in Utah mid-September, and really looking forward to it. It literally is based on Iron Man and Star Trek, but I would say, since I love both of those, we made the lobby Stark Technologies-esque. There's something that looks like a big arc reactor in the ceiling of the lobby when you come in. And then we have a welcome center done in the style of Star Trek. And we were very fortunate to work with Doug Drexler, amazing guy, very spiritual guy, and which kind of surprised me coming out of Hollywood, how in touch he was with spirituality. And we just gelled right away. And he had worked with Gene Roddenberry, the creator of Star Trek, Academy Award winner, been doing set design for 40 years in science fiction shows. And I had said, Doug, I have this concept for our welcome center. Here's a picture, of a Star Trek set. What do you think? And he said, well, actually, I designed that Star Trek set. So, I think I can do this project for you. And the whole process, it's taken a lot of time and money, but it's really going to give people an outstanding experience that when they come to our office, they'll get a true idea of who LifeWave is as a company, where we've been, and very importantly, where we're going to be going in the future. So we're going to be showcasing there some technology to give people an idea of what lies ahead. So some of that is going to be building upon existing systems within human beings. What I mean by that is I'd like to see human beings reach their optimal physical potential. And this would mean we take what we've learned from observing different species that don't age and apply that over into human beings. And something very, very interesting happens along the way, which was a surprise to me, but a very, very good surprise. We did our first test on this new light-based technology, and we saw every indication that it was having a very beneficial effect on the aging process. You could see we saw evidence of age reversal in the 3 initial clinical studies that we did. But then something very interesting happened. I was looking over some of the data and I said, okay, it's very obvious this is happening. So what if I add this specific nutrient into a formula that people can take with this therapy? And for myself, I started losing body fat without any additional exercise. And it was just giving my body the ability to turn on genes that had previously been turned off. So we're going to see a new way for people to lose body fat and build muscle that's never been available before. It's not a drug. This is all based off of light and optimizing nutrition. And then I would like to be exploring in the coming years different ways that people can have access to physical abilities that maybe are beyond their biological limits. So some experimentation that I've done in the past has to do with how we can turn on muscle protein synthesis so people can have greater strength, greater stamina at any age and exceed what they can do biologically today. So that's all within reach, and we'll be going to market with that.
Wow. That's impressive. And, having been in the Navy SEALs and the CIA, I used to see some incredibly high-tech stuff. And I had the great, benefit of having visited you in one of your laboratories. And the technology that you had there was mind-numbingly ahead of its time, way ahead of its time. And I was blown away. And I've seen some pretty amazing things in my days. So I look forward to some of those technologies starting to come through. Now, Jason, we're going to have these technologies come through, or they're trying to come through, but there is this system that's blocking some of these things. We know there's technologies out there, free energy technologies, all kinds of amazing things that could benefit humanity, but it's not made to benefit humanity. It's to benefit a very small section of the world, the elites, if you will. Where do you see this collapse once these technologies go? Do you see some of these people coming over into the high tech areas like Dave is developing, or do you see just a very very dark period of time going forward?
It's a great question. Here's how I'll answer that, and we'll go back to David's comment, and you know this too. I've watched you build your life and your outcomes. But at the end of the day, no matter what tools are around us, and I'm going to take this, it always has to go back to the one, right? We have a saying in the child trafficking world, there might be 10 million kids out there, but we're going after the one, right? It's the same exact scenario. When you're talking here, there might be millions of people that watch your show, but you're talking to the one, right? The one that is ready to hear, the one that has the ability to take action, the one that's looking for that small piece of advice that can accelerate their own life, right? And so when you look at the technologies and all of the tools and the things that are available to us, the thing that is missing in our memory, I think, is that every single one of us is an architect. Right. The person that came in to talk to David's got this amazing vision of what he wanted to build, but it's impossible unless you have an architect to be able to, that knows what they're doing, how to systemize things, how to sequence them, how to put them in place. And I believe that each and every person that's watching this should be a business owner, number one, and should be their own architect, or find architects that are further down the road that know what, how to build where they're headed. And again, the Bible is the greatest piece of architecture advice that you can possibly get your hands on. But if you sit back and you go, okay, and this is my push in the business community right now, is to say all of us need to wake up and realize that we need to do business with each other, right? You take away, in a massive way, you take power away from elites who want to hoard it and want to give it to themselves, and they want to just hold on to it because they don't know the word enough, right? They don't understand the word enough. And so they keep going at the detriment of their soul, at the detriment of our communities, at the detriment of our world, because they don't have that concept of what is enough. And so for us, all we have to do is do business with each other, and it defunds everything that's going on around us. It defunds it, right? And so this is my push. In order for us to defund it, every single person watching this and that falls into the sound of our voices needs to architect, because it's between them and God. God has the perfect architecture, and it's between the one watching here saying, what am I called to do? And it's always going to be something that feels hard. It's always going to be something that doesn't seem possible in this moment, because God thought of it. You didn't. What he did was resource you with every single piece of information, every single tool, every single dollar, every single connection, everything that you need is in your future once you decide and you architect your way to whatever that is. When all of us decide to do that collectively, guess what? We're going to make better decisions at where we buy stuff, right? Okay, convenience and price for Amazon right now. The price of what? The price of our freedom? The price of not having any jobs because they all get roboticized, right? The price of what? It's giving away our souls. And so, finding somebody local or finding somebody that's online that actually aligns with your theory, your ethics and who you believe and how you believe. Joining a direct marketing team that you inspect who they are, each and every one of them. You inspect their heart. You look at the results from their life and you say, do I want to be more like that, or do I want to be somewhere else, right? Do I want to be beholden to a corporation who doesn't care about me? Do I want to depend on a centralized government who wants control over me and wait for that check to come in? Not most people. Like I would say 99% of people have the soul that yearns to be free. And we have this great tool. God was like, here's this amazing tool for you called business, right? Called connections, called innovate, called all of that stuff. We just given it to us. And we sit there going, I don't know what to do, but it's right there in our hands. And I can be so passionate about it because I freed myself, right? I freed myself, and I've used that to say, okay, I know when I had enough, and now it's time for me to go free little girls and little boys in the sex trade. Right? It's my time to go free women that are domestic violence survivors. It's my job to go feed people because I have more than I need. Right? Those are the things that all of us can do. And in architecture, you have to understand, everybody here, we mentioned all of our superheroes, but the superhero really is the one watching this, and we become the guides. We've already stepped down a lot of these paths, right? Alfred is actually, in my older years, sorry, my thing tends to get, when I get fired up like this, tends to melt down a little bit. So I'll just switch cameras. But Alfred has become, in my older years, my favorite character, right? Why? Because his guide, he knows, right? Tony Stark had his father. Tony Stark had, another person in the military. The name escapes me right now. But that's what we become, right? In our words being that's incumbent upon us, biblically, it's our job now to guide and to lead other people into their greatness, right? So I think that all ties back in with the architecture of the building. What David does is architect healing technologies for each and every one of us to be able to go, I don't really need to know what it does. A slap here, a slap a patch here, a slap a patch here. I feel better. I got less wrinkles, right? I'm lifting more. I'm hitting the heavy bag more. I'm fighting 25-year-old guys in the gym, and they're going, what the hell? and it's just the patches, right? So architect your own journey, because this is it. There's infrastructure, there's guidance, there's guides like the two other gentlemen that are on this site that you can follow, and that are we're desperate to give that information to people so that we can keep our world free.
Wow. That was Jason. I can see why you're in demand, speaker. Good job. So, very, very motivational and on point. Now, I've been in a couple different countries over the last several months, over the last 6 months. I went to Egypt. Now I'm in Turkey. So both of these countries, they have natural food. And I look at the ingredients, or I go eat the food, and it tastes incredible. I feel healthier. I've had my kids on both these trips. Both of them are healthier. My daughter said when she came back from our Egypt trip, she went to, I'm not going to name his name, but she went to what's normally a very healthy place to eat, and she threw it all up and was sick for like a week. So we know that these foods are loaded with toxins. David, how have you been able to avoid all of that and stay relevant? Because I know that they really come after companies that are trying to bring, goodness to Americans, because that makes them less profitable. How have you been able to dodge all that? You've done an amazing job, however it is.
Yeah, well, I would say, the first thing is we position our products as general wellness products, and the benefits are dramatically understated. So there is a limit to the claims that we make. However, we do many clinical studies. We have over 80 clinical studies now that are going to document the beneficial health effects of the patches. But more importantly, the people that are using them, they experience the benefits, and they know what they are, and they share those benefits with others. But you're absolutely correct. We did a clinical study years ago on our glutathione patch, and the premise was very simple. We wanted to have one group of people that used the glutathione patch for 5 days, and another group that used the product for 7 days. And we used a technique called electrointerstitial scanning. And we had a biomedical researcher, Dr. Homer Nazaran, at the University of Texas in El Paso, who is conducting the study. And I'm looking at the statistics on the data. And the results of that study were actually quite surprising. What we found, and this was done in the late 2000s, what we found was that people that were using the glutathione patch 7 days a week got about twice of the benefit as only using it 5 days per week. And what that said to me was that we are under constant bombardment by environmental toxins. This can show up in our food, our water, in the air, and also electromagnetic pollution. So we need to be proactive every single day in terms of what we're doing for our health. We can't take that for granted anymore. So we really need to be thinking about the quality of the food that we're consuming, what nutritional supplements do we use, drinking clean water. getting proper rest, shielding ourselves from EMFs, which have an extraordinarily detrimental effect on our health. So we need to be proactive every single day to protect our health. Otherwise, in the long term, that health can be compromised. So starting with a healthy diet and a clean diet is critically important. And in some countries, especially over in Europe, it's a lot easier than it is here in the US.
Fabulous, fabulous. Now, Jason, convincing people that, products are good for them and they should use them for extended period of time can be a little challenging sometimes. Even when you have like this monumental, technology from LifeWave, the testimonials are exceptional. How do you work with people to basically break through? Because I'm a military guy. I'm real hard headed. All right, I'm very scientific, not on the level of David, of course, but very scientific minded. I don't think if I hadn't been a Navy SEAL, probably would have been a scientist. I love science so much. So how do you break free from those that are very analytical and say, well, I put it on, nothing happened that day? Well, I've seen other people get, results instantly, because I have. I have had results instantly. So I don't get the results that quick. How do you break through that mental fog, if you will, and try and help people, realize that, these can be beneficial and help you?
Yeah, it's a great question. We all three of us could sit down and talk about all of the lying that happens in marketing, right? And how many years we've seen it, and how many false claims have been made, how many false claims are being made by drugs that are on the market today, still to this day. And so I think that first acknowledging that people that have a healthy skepticism are exactly the people that we want to be talking to, right? That because they may have questioned other things, right? We won't go into it here, so we don't get banned off of it. But they have the idea or the spirit of due diligence, which should be done, right? It should be done. Now, then you start to go down a checklist of, all right, marketing. How many millions of dollars are going into marketing, right? And when you're dealing with a direct marketing company, it's basically nothing. There's not really marketing that's going into it. It's another person who usually and or trust that is telling you, hey, I did this, and it's having these impacts on me. Right? When we very first started the patch, for my own story, when we very first started, my wife had something wrong with her back, and she put on the Ice Wave, and she was like, I don't want to believe this is true, but it's working. Right. And I happen to have a shoulder thing, and I put it on there, and I'm like, same thing. So there was that immediate, but it's the longer that I'm on them, I'm getting more and more of the benefits. Again, until I get to the end of the testing of these patches, I'm not doing anything different. And my wrinkles have gone away. Like, my energy has gone up, my performance measurably, because I measure everything that I do, right? From my VO2 to the impact it's having in the gym, to my fat my muscle content, my fat content, like all of those things have been impacted the longer that I'm on them. My skin, I don't know. I'm 52 years old. I'm sexy as hell. Like, I don't know if that's David's, up because of David, but
you were sexy to start with, Jason. So
sexier. How about that? Right.
Yes.
So,
They wrote that song for you. I'm too sexy for myself, I think.
Right. Or I'm too, you're so vain. One of the two. Either one works. But the idea is that I think that when you have somebody that you trust and that tell you something, and then you realize, I saw this picture when I was going to a chiropractor somewhere years and years ago, and it said, foolish is, I'm gonna sort of butcher it, but it's, foolish is the man who believes that he can reverse his disease faster than he made the decisions to end up in that disease state. Right. So it's like, you've been doing all these things, Big Macs and booze and all these things, and it stacked up sickness in your body over a period of time to where it disturbs your peace to go, oh, I don't feel as good as I used to. Or I go to the doctor and I come up against something, some other disease or something else goes wrong with me, where life goes, bam, time for you to modify your approach, right? And when you do modify it, it doesn't happen overnight. How you got to where you are didn't happen overnight. So it's a little bit of common sense. It's a little bit of understanding the methodology of marketing from somebody who cares about you, is not going to lie to you because they live next to you. They might be related to you. They know you in some way, shape, or form, and they're not going to just blatantly lie to you to get you involved in a program that costs, in my world, in business, virtually nothing to get involved with. Right. And to start a business, it's nothing to start a business with this company. So suspending disbelief long enough, even long enough that you would when you went in to watch a movie, you just suspend that disbelief long enough to give yourself a chance. Give it 90 days. I would say give it a year. If you're really intelligent about how life's your own cellular makeup and its repair and the time, I think that if you're going to do something, you do it for a year, 90 days minimum, but you do it for a year and you mark where you are, right? You say, here's where I'm at. I sleep this amount. This is what you just take control. You architect your own recovery. You architect your own. I love when David talks about going beyond your potential. I'm ready. Like, I feel like I'm always at that edge of my potential and I'm ready to go, what's next? I want to go beyond that because I know I can serve more. I know I can get more done. Maybe I can sleep less, right? Maybe I can go on another extra mission and get a couple more kids out of being raped every night. Whatever it is, it's helping me. Other people, there's a process that you have to go through. And sometimes we just get to a place where it's not the right time for them and just move on. I think anybody in business, you can't stick on one place for too long. And you also, if you're architected your own freedom with a business, you also can't count on everybody that you know around you. You got to go beyond that. You have to go beyond your own potential. You have to overcome objections. You have to be the example of the product. You have to live and change those unhealthy things that you're doing while you're supposed to be marketing and representing a health product. Lots of stuff, and maybe that was a really long answer to say that I really, really think that just modeling, as you, the one that's watching this and hearing this, and you got your own business, you modeling the great things about this business and watching your own change in your health and your own change in your income and your own change in how you behave because you're around amazing. My upline, oh my God, like that. I've never been involved in network marketing, but I can tell you it with all of the businesses that I've built, team matters. Team matters. And the people that are in my upline are unreal. Like I'm thinking I could have built a couple of multi-billion-dollar companies if I'd had this team years ago. And they do it for free.
Yeah.
They help for free because the more that they help me, the more they make, right? Zig Ziglar 101. And so I can't think of a better business model as much as I've avoided it my entire life. I can't think of a better business model for people to be able to get involved and to be able to chart their own course. So hope that answered the question, brother.
Yeah, most definitely. And, you have to have the experiences. I've had a lot of experience over my years, and I've shared them, and I have a massive audience. I was like #1 in North America sales last year and #1 in the world in sales. That's because people listen, they believe. Now, you've mentioned a couple times now about how we're trying to help those that are less fortunate as far as child trafficking. I can add to that. I have someone in my group that's basically been child trafficked, and she is speaking out, and the LifeWave patches have helped her, and they're helping other people that she has been, working with. I've also started helping people with addictions, and then have had incredible success where they never had success before. So we're seeing, some amazing things happen. So David, where do you see this going as far as if we have a broader audience that we help, but now we're starting to narrow it down and helping those that are less fortunate, like the child victims and those that are addicted.
Yeah, so back in 2005, we were at our first conference, and at about that time, there was Hurricane Katrina. And I met this fellow in Florida, Thomas Burke, who went on to become our ambassador to the Red Cross. And that was really the first time that I was presented with this idea, hey, the company, it's in its first year, but it's successful. How about we have a program to give back? And that really resonated with me. So over the years, we started to develop relationships with companies or organizations like the Red Cross, Convoy of Hope, so that we could donate money and help those in need. And then very fortunately, because we have so many amazing people around the globe in LifeWave, they would come to us and say, hey, I'm in Indonesia. There was just this earthquake over here, and can we get some patches or financial assistance to help people who are on the ground? Can we do that? And we would make donations. Or we had a group of doctors that went over to the Dominican Republic when the hurricane went through there, and we made some donations on patches and money to help those people. So as we look and we grow and our finances become stronger, we look at what type of directions can we really go in? So I don't think we want to lose sight of that personal touch. I really like the idea that we can stay connected to the community and be very nimble and respond and provide relief when needed. But we also look at the overarching programs. And I tend to think of these things on a global nature. So for example, the past year, we've been speaking with organizations to clean microplastics out of the environment. So we're going to be coming out with a technology. It has something to do with water, and there's an enormous need in our environment today to get all these plastics out of the environment. They're showing up in all human beings. So if we don't get the plastics out of the environment, it's going to have a detrimental impact on our kids and then their grandkids. And so this is the time that we should be responding. So we look at overarching programs like this that will have a global impact. We look at ventures in new technology that can prohibit this in the first place. So for example, our power generation system that we have in our drone, the exhaust out of the engine is, as you know, is actually cleaner than the air that we're breathing. So I think about, okay, how can we donate money to some global efforts to clean up the environment, improve the world around us, but then how can we implement new technology so now we have a sustainable system? So one last point is I made a proposition to our community a few years ago, and I said, well, what would you think about a network marketing company where what we're doing is we're taking municipal solid waste, we're taking plastics out of landfill, we're destroying it through a process called pyrolysis, and we're generating clean electricity as a result. The only thing that comes off is carbon, and we can use this to make building materials and pave roads. And that concept resonated, strongly with our community. So I think as entrepreneurs, what we can do through innovation is deploy technology that works in harmony with nature. It creates sustainability. It cleans the environment. It provides financial opportunity for people to give them financial freedom. Everybody wins.
Yeah, everybody wins. And then once we win bigger because we can now expand into those areas of winning. I've always been on winning teams, and love being on this team. always been part of the 1% of the 1%ers. So here I am with LifeWave. I love it. So Jason, your views on, we spoke before separately on another show about the, trafficking and so forth. What are your views on that, and how can, entrepreneurs help that process? And basically kind of like what you were talking about before earlier, if we focus on the good aspect of things, it cancels out those that are trying to do harm. Where do you see this going?
Well, I'm sort of betting big on what I'm going to do about it and what I think we should do about it, because that's where, my new division of my company is called Built to Exit. And I think every company should be built to exit. You've got all kinds of, different types of companies. The ones that grow too fast are the ones that usually don't have the infrastructure to support, long-term growth. The ones that are growing too slowly run out of something called cash. There's all of those things. And so when you look back to 2020, I'm a bull. I don't like bullies, right? I can't stand them. And you look back to 2020, and when we got called non-essential, right? All small businesses non-essential. I was busy. I was running around with General Flynn and you and a few of our other friends and trying to wake people up at that point in time. But I knew that was something that I needed to come back to look at. That was one of the stupidest phrases I've ever heard about a group of people that are absolutely essential, right? When you look at it, 60% of the GDP is done by 0 to 499. It's a community called SME, small and mid-sized enterprise, okay? 0 employees to 499. 60% of our GDP, almost 50% worldwide, is done by companies of that size. And 60% of the hiring, which means all of the free trade, all of the decentralization of power away from a centralized government, happens in our community, right? And so when we got called non-essential, I looked around, I was like, somebody's going to stand up. Your chambers of commerce, somebody's going to stand up to these people and say something. Nobody did, right? So when I went through what I went through, I did what I did. I spoke out during 2020. I did all of that, and then it came to a time between me and God to say, what do you want me to do, right? What fight do you want me to take on now? And it really came down to the small and mid-sized companies and build it, being a guide, being a protector, being fighting back against those bullies. So over the next 5 years, what I want to do is I want to help as many companies, business consultants, business coaches, teach what I know about business that has had that, repeatable, predictable outcomes of building multiple successful companies to an exit, and teach that as widespread as we possibly can, right? So that we can all have a community that if that ever happens again, we now have some political unity. We have some people, all of us know each other, and we can band together around each other to protect and to have some say. The world changes if we just go back in and we force a law that's already on the books that was passed back in 1890, right? Called the Sherman Act. There is so much antitrust going on right now. It would change the entire world if all Trump or whoever ends up getting in there was go in there, and I call on it. Everybody I know that knows Trump, I'm like, you got to go in and enforce antitrust, because if he did, it solves a lot of problems, because that's the free hand. So what I say right now, as we're going towards that, as we're building that unity within the business community over the next 4 or 5 years, is do business locally. Do business with people right? This LifeWave, you're doing business with somebody You're doing business with a product that actually works, with a company that has ethics and morals and is utilizing that money to further expand for more opportunity for other people. Find businesses like that. Shop at your local. You talked about being healthy. I buy from a farm. I buy cows at a time, right? For my red meat. Local. Does it cost more? Absolutely. Sometimes less, but more often it's not going to get to you as soon as you want it to, and it's going to cost a little bit more. But it's going to be an investment in us keeping our country free, opportunity free, and our children growing up in a world that they're not beholden and being led and really enslaved by people who don't have their best interests.
Fantastic. Gentlemen, it's been fantastic having you on. This has been an excellent discussion. David, where can people reach you if they want to?
Well, I'm difficult to reach, but they can start by going to lifewave.com. If they contact our customer service, send a message. I often get those and am happy to respond when I can.
Absolutely. Thank you. And Jason.
He has an army of people. You don't need to talk to David. He has an army of people that know everything that this man says. So that's funny. Mine's easy. It's jasoncisneros.com. That's kind of why I have the name above my head and whatnot, but it's jasoncisneros.com. Anybody wants to get a hold of me.
Absolutely. Fabulous, gentlemen. Thanks so much for coming on. LifeWave is the wave of the future. And it is rocking and rolling, and more stuff's coming. So look forward to sharing more with you guys in the future. Thanks a lot, gentlemen. We'll see you guys next time.
Thank you.